Alright, don't ask me about this film. I am still trying to figure out basically I was once watching, which is basically for par from Hayao Miyazaki. Okay, not really much to say. Hayao Miyazaki is one of the greatest animated directors of all time. And he could take basically anybody into a world that only he can imagine. The only difference is that this one's a container full of birds, usually giants, such as pelicans and parakeets. Oh, and a troll-like heron. As you know, I live in Florida, and there's lots of blue heron around here. And I know because a lot of them end up taking a crap on my car. Oh, by the way, there's a lot of crap in this film. A lot of bird crap. It's basically the allegory for the last film I watched in this theater. By the way, I'm at Royal Palm Beach. What was the last film? Oh, Elemental. Yeah, the film was not. It was the most bland thing I've ever seen in my life. I barely remember what actually happened. I actually had to read a Wikipedia a week after to figure out if I even watched that film. It is so bland and forgettable. This one, on the other hand, is not quite the same. I mean, it starts off really about Mahito Maki. What happened was that his mother was in a hospital and the hospital burned to the ground. This is during the third year of World War III. Mahito got sent to a village out in the country, which I guess, considering what happened to Tokyo, obviously you were able to avoid a lot of the tragedies such as Graveyard of the Fireflies. And while there, he starts getting harassed by a gray heron. And this gray heron has a very creepy voice and apparently tells him that his mother's alive. Anyway, Mahito does not take living in the village very lightly, and quite frankly, actually starts striking himself over the head with a rock, which results in him basically being out of commission for a while. Bedridden. While actually, interestingly enough, the reason why they're there also is because Mahito's father wants to marry his aunt, his mother's sister, Natsuko. And in fact, already has a child on the way. Anyway, Mahito in travels actually discovers a tower that his mother's great uncle built. And they found out the guy was very eccentric. Yeah, it's par for the course from Hayao Miyazaki. Eccentric character. Actually, it'd be more interesting to watch Hayao Miyazaki make a film about someone who wasn't eccentric, just to see what would happen. As the film went on, Natsuko, while pregnant, ends up being bedridden herself, and for some reason, gets out of bed and starts wandering over to the tower, eventually going into it. Mahito and one of his great aunts, Kiriko, goes with him and enters the tower. At that point, the herring reveals himself to be more have a troll face inside his mouth. You'll see because he has teeth inside his beak. And yeah, it's basically a troll face that comes right out. He built a replica of his mother. Very mean for someone whose mother was lost. Of course, Mahito was not fooled. Eventually he sinks into the floor and into a brand new world. That's right, he got isekai'd. This world, unfortunately, is a world between the living and the dead. If you haven't figured it out by now, it's the perfect allegory. He enters and sees a graveyard with a very ominous saying over it. And no, it isn't abandon all hope, you enter here. And he ends up meeting a younger version of Kiriko, and yeah, eventually figures out that he's probably going to meet the younger version of his mother eventually. And yeah, she's in this film, Himi. I don't want to get too much into details, but this movie was actually very good. It's Hayao Miyazaki. I know I went over his son's foray into computer animation, and yeah, it was complete, absolute garbage. The animation just wasn't there. You know, let's face it, we're in the 2020. Computer animation has exploded. That film looked like it belonged in the 1990s. This film is returned to form for Studio Ghibli. Now, if you haven't figured out by now, the story behind it has actually to do with the fact that when the Studio Ghibli Museum opened, Hayao Miyazaki made a short. And while there, of course, because being a very creative person he is, he came with the idea to come up with a story for a new feature film. The whole idea is he wanted it done by the time the 2020 Olympics happened. As you know, it's 2023, and the Olympics happened in 2021. I wonder what happened. Was this supposed to be 2020? Now watch him put a Wikipedia article underneath this one on YouTube, right? This is Hayao Miyazaki at his best, once again. A weird story that seems to go all over the place, but somehow ties itself right back together as soon as it's disassembled. This is really about a boy accepting his current circumstances, that his mother's gone, and he has a new family. Plain and simple. It's a lot of visuals, and a lot of narrative to it. The animation is superb. It's Studio Ghibli back to where it should be, doing two-dimensional animation. And doing it exceptionally well. Now, I noticed they did a lot of work with Panko. I know, because there were a bunch of actually former Studio Ghibli animators who left Studio Ghibli when they noticed that the studio was kind of imploding back in the early 2010s. I don't know why it happened, it just did. One of the business partners also passed away in that time, between now and the previous film that came out, before Garo Miyazaki's film came out last year. This film was very well done. It's definitely around an A-, if not an A. I strongly recommend you to at least check it out before it leaves American theaters or enters American streaming. Anyway, I'm going to have to take off. I'll see you in the next review. Bye.